You are back watching In the Can. I'm the visiting host, Meghan Burk from Lake Tahoe, and I am so excited to be here. My first ever Sundance, and I have the pleasure to interview Amber Sealey, director and writer for How Does It Start? Are you excited, just rolling with the flow, first day of Sundance?
Yeah, well, it was hard getting a cab this morning. So first I was like, oh my God, am I going to make it here to the station? But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I mean, Sundance is amazing. It's an amazing place to go, and I think it's kind of like the place where every filmmaker wants to end up, so I'm happy to be here.
Speaking of Filmmaker, you mentioned that this is not your first Sundance, but this is your first Sundance not being an actor, but as a director.
Exactly, yeah. I've been here before as an actor, and I mean, again, this is my first morning here, so I can't tell you what all the differences are yet, but this is my first time here as a writer and a director, so yeah.
And how does that feel?
It feels pretty good. I mean, people keep asking me if I'm excited, and I am, but I think the feeling is more relief, because I think as a filmmaker, you know, there are these sort of benchmarks that you have to achieve, things that you have, you know, just kind of notches on your belt or whatever, and Sundance is one of the big ones. And so, you know, any film that you make, it's a labor of love for everybody involved. And, you know, I had so many people working on this with me who gave their time and their energy for, you know, often very little money, not what they're normally worth. And so it feels like when you get something like this, it feels like relief, because you're like, oh good, you know, all these people who worked so hard for me and for this project and believed in me and believed in the film, they also get something out of it, because everyone wants to be able to say, I went to Sundance, you know, have that on their resume. So it feels kind of both exciting and relieving.
Let's talk about your film, How Does It Start? Definitely a topic that can be a little bit taboo, right? Yeah. Children, understanding their sexuality. So why don't you give a brief synopsis of your short? Well,
so it's about a girl named Rain who's 12 years old, and she thinks she wants to have sex, but she doesn't know what sex is or what it means. So it's really about that period of time that's like pre-teen. We have a lot of films that are about the teenage sexual coming of age, which to me is a very, very different time from the pre-teen sexual coming of age, where you are really just curious about all those things, but you don't know what they are. And so you're curious about sex, but you're not actually having sex. And so the inspiration came from my own diaries. I found my diaries when I was like between 10 and 12, and I was reading them, and I just was like, you know, obsessed with like having a boyfriend, kissing, like what does it all mean? You know, reading Judy Blume books, trying to make sense of it all, but really not understanding. And also this was in the 80s, so you know, access to information was much harder and much different than it is for children today. And so that just all got me thinking about that time period where you're curious to know stuff, but you are kind of too young to actually fully comprehend it. And I also just really feel like that phase for children, you know, being curious about that stuff, it's a very normal, developmentally appropriate phase that kids go through. And I think that we have a lot of cinema, a lot of films where we have young boys between the ages of 10 and 12 who are interested in sex and curious about sex, and it's portrayed as natural and healthy, and we don't really have that same thing for young girls. There's a lot of movies about girls of that age, but they're being molested or abused in some way. And so what I'm trying to do is portray that time period and that interest in sex as normal and healthy. And there's all sorts of other things going on around her in her life that are not necessarily healthy or normal, but you know, that's more the plot of the film. But to me, the kind of nugget at the center of it is the fact that I do think that we should have a larger dialogue in our society and in film about you know, female sexuality from the very beginning. You know, your sexuality and your relationship to it changes throughout the whole span of your life, and I really feel like as a society, if we valued female pleasure as much as we do male pleasure, that we wouldn't necessarily be living in such a sexist culture.
Well, that's a very pertinent topic, like you said, along your entire life, your entire road, because when I was watching the short, I was asking myself these questions, and where the development was and where I'm at now as a woman, right? Because that question you constantly ask yourself, whether you're in a different relationship, marriage, you name it. So it's pertinent both in that time of your life as an adolescent all the way until the end.
I mean, I'm a mom now too. I have 2 young children, and I think that our relationship to our sexual being, it changes throughout our life, you know, like, and I notice now myself as a, you know, a married woman in my 40s, like I have a different relationship to sex and being curious about it or my thoughts on it. than I did from when I was 10 and 12. So to me, all of those different stages are worth looking at and talking about and exploring. And for me, making this film was really about adding to the canon of films on female sexuality, because I just feel like that canon that's up on the library shelf right now, like there are just a lot of chapters missing for women. And so for me, this was about adding to that chapter.
And this is how it started.
And this is how it starts.
Tell me, what was it like working with those young actors? Because they really got into it, but it is definitely a challenging topic, uncomfortable.
Yeah, the kids that I had are amazing. Lola Wayne Villa, the lead who plays Rain, she's just, I mean, it's funny, in my head, I didn't even, you have an idea of what the character looks like, right? And I was probably, of course, picturing like myself when I was 12, because it started from my diaries. And Lola doesn't look anything like I looked like when I was 12. And she walked in the room, and then she just gave her reading, and she left, and I turned to my casting director and I was like, did you feel that? Like, it was just this magical feeling. She's just a really special kid, and really smart and really intuitive, and we really lucked out. All of our kids are amazing, and we cast for a long time. I auditioned a lot of kids, and we really lucked out. I mean, part of when you're casting a kid, you're casting the family. You have to find, particularly for this film, right? I needed to get parents who were smart, progressive, forward thinkers with regards to children and educating them about, the big life lessons. And luckily we found these parents that were really on board with all of that and really wanted to kind of, have their kids participate in something that was a film that was entertaining but was also important for society. And so, yeah, I can't even, people say, was it hard? And it wasn't, and I think largely due to the parents and the children themselves being so wonderful. The
maturity level alone to be on set, to be talking and acting out some of those different scenes is phenomenal.
Yeah, and they all are those real ages, so they all are, going through that stuff. I think it was, for them, maybe cathartic in a way, because they're going through that. They're having crushes and obsessions and wondering, what does this mean, and what does it mean to have a boyfriend or go on a date or have a girlfriend, all of that. And so, yeah, they're living it. And so I think it was just so, they didn't even really have many questions about, what does this feel like? What am I supposed to be feeling here or doing here? Because it's all like what they're living right now. So
tell me about being a female filmmaker. You're a true advocate for that, and seeing this progression over the years, starting with acting to writing to directing, because you have a full scope.
It's funny. I mean, I think we all hope to not be labeled as female filmmakers at some point, but I also think that it's important, because there isn't gender equality in the film industry yet. I think that it is important to kind of, form strong groups of female filmmakers to help each other, and kind of, there's so many great organizations, particularly where I live in Los Angeles, that really band together, and women helping each other to all sort of move up as a group. And so, yeah, I am very vocal about supporting female filmmakers in general, and, it's just one of those industries where the numbers aren't where they should be right now. I think, in fact, there was a study that came out recently that the numbers for 2018 actually went down from 2017 for female filmmakers in the industry. And look, smarter people than me are looking into this and how to fix it. But I'm hoping that collectively as a society we can pull together and value women as storytellers, and people of color as well. I mean, the numbers are not where they should be for diversity in any way. But I think that, Sundance is a wonderful place for things like that, because Sundance really values diversity and all different kinds of stories. And so I think that the more we get new stories out there, and the audiences can see, oh, this is a story I haven't seen or heard before, I'm interested in that, then we'll hopefully start to open up the gates for more, just a variety of different kinds of filmmakers getting to be at the top of the pyramid.
Well, thank you for starting this conversation in more ways than one. When are your screenings?
So we are part of Shorts Program 2, and we have screenings Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, a couple more, I can't even remember. There's like 5 different, but it's Shorts Program 2, and there's a whole bunch of different I don't remember. I'm terrible.
Visit Sundance.org.
I should have remembered all the time. Go to Sundance.org and Shorts Program 2.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. Good luck with everything. And again, how does it start? Amber Sealey, be sure to check out her short, because it's just the beginning of your career. the beginning. You're launched. You are now a full-fledged.
I've made it, guys. I'm here. I've made it now. Like this is
I can't wait to see what else is next.
Thank you so much.
Keep watching. More In the Can is coming up next here on Park City Television.